Good day, grade 7s. Welcome back. It is Thursday, the 7th of May, and today I want to be looking at the concept of volume. There are three different types of categories that we are going to just discuss. We're going to identify what volume is, we're going to look at the units of volume, and then we're going to look at some calculations that involve volume and how we calculate volume of a triangular prism and a rectangular prism. First of all, we need to get our foundations correct before we move on to volume. And I want to recap with you about area and perimeter. So perimeter, we said, was the measurements of a shape. So a shape, a 2D object, on the outside. Okay? So if I walk around the field once, I'm measuring the kilometers or the meters around the field on the outside. Okay? So perimeter is always one dimension calculation where we are only looking at length. So for instance, if I draw this line and I say, please calculate the perimeter of this line, I've only got one dimension, one length, okay? If I look at the perimeter of a square, okay, yes, I'm going to start over here at this point and add this line, this line, this line, and that line. But it is still only one dimension because I'm not multiplying. So perimeter, I add my meters or centimeters or kilometers together. I do not multiply. However, when I look at area, area is when we start to multiply our two dimensions together. So here on this figure, in this square, I have length and breadth. So I've got two dimensions, okay? So remember our formula to work out the area was length times breadth, and the answer that it gave me was always squared. That too is very significant because it shows me that I'm working with area. I am multiplying two dimensions together. Now volume is something similar to area, but we are now using three dimensions. We are using our length, our breadth, as well as our height. So volume deals with three-dimensional objects, like our cube or our prisms, okay? We spoke about this week where we looked and classified different types of prisms and pyramids. So this is where we build on from now. This is where we calculate our volume, okay? So our volume, we take our length, which would be over here. We would take our breadth, which would be down here. And our height is an added dimension. So if we take a square and we elongate it, okay, we make it wider and we add another dimension onto that. That is our height. The answer that we get, so it could be centimeters, millimeters, kilometers, etc., is always to the power of 3. It is cubed. 3 stands for our 3 dimensions. Okay, so now you've got a little bit of a background on our volume, where it comes from, by identifying perimeter and area. So let's get a definition of volume. Volume is when we look at a solid and it tells us how much space an object takes up. Okay? So if I look at this rectangular prism, for instance, I want to know how much space that object takes up. I'm going to go through the calculations with you shortly. So I have identified and defined what volume is. I'm going to look at the units of volume. Okay? A cube is used as a unit of measurement for volume. We measure volume in cubic units. So for example, cubic meters, which is m for meters to the power of 3. Cubic centimeters, which is centimeters to the power of 3. or cubic millimeters, which is millimeters, so mm to the power of 3 as well. It could also be cubic kilometers or cubic inches if we want to look at American-based stuff, or cubic miles. All right, so just remember it has to have that 3 after the units to make sure that you know that you're talking about volume. So let's get into how we calculate, which is our third point for today. Calculations involving volume. How do we calculate the volume of a solid? So we'll start off with this formula. Volume is equal to our 3 dimensions multiplied by each other. Length times breadth times height. Or we can say that volume is equal to the area of the base times our height. Our area of the base is just as good as saying length times breadth. Okay? So these 2 blocks over here, these 2 purple blocks, are things that you need to learn off by heart. And I'm going to go over it with you very quickly. So it says here, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. We know that already. We did those conversions last week. So therefore, 1 centimeter cubed is equal to 1,000 millimeters cubed. Right, this is my proof. So 1 centimeter cubed is the volume of a cube, okay? And the volume of the cube is broken up into our length times breadth times height. So each of these dimensions are the same. 1 centimeters times 1 centimeter times 1 centimeter, which gives us 1 centimeter cubed. Now if I say convert this centimeter cubed into millimeters cubed, I can simply put 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So therefore, I'm going to say 10 millimeters times 10 millimeters times 10 millimeters, and it gives me 1,000 millimeters cubed. So I have proven to you that 1 centimeter cubed is actually equal to 1,000 millimeters cubed. The next thing that you need to learn in this block is that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. We also know that because we worked that out last week as well with our conversion table. So therefore, 1 meter cubed is equal to 1 million centimeters cubed. How do I get that proof? This is how I do it. 1 meter cubed is the volume of a cube that has dimensions 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. Okay, so 1 times 1 times 1 gives me 1, and I've got 3 m's, meaning 3 dimensions. It's volume. Now I need to prove that 1 meter cubed is in fact 1 million centimeters cubed. So I say 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So 100 centimeters, which is my length, times 100 centimeters, which is my breadth, times 100 centimeters, which is my height, and it gives me 1 million centimeters cubed. So these two, this line over here and that line over there, is what you need to know off by heart. These other 2 lines over here and here, those are just the proofs of that first statement. Right, so let's go to an example. And I have a rectangular prism with these dimensions, 10 meters, 12 meters, and 6 meters. And I ask you to calculate the volume of this rectangular prism. First things first, I'm going to draw my diagram, which I have on the left-hand side. I've then made sure I have labeled each dimension. So my length is here, my breadth is here, and this is my height, that line. Then I need to make sure I write my formula. Volume is equal to length times breadth times height. So this is a pretty easy one. Volume is equal to, what is our length? 12 meters. Our breadth is 10 meters. And our height is 6 meters. Okay? If I multiply all of these together, I will get 120 meters squared. I'm going to break it up for you so it's easier. Times 6 meters, which should give me 720 meters cubed. So that is my volume of this rectangular prism. So first things first, draw your diagram, label your diagram as to where the length, the breadth, and the height are. Then you need to write out your formula and simply put in place where you see length, you're going to put the measurement. Where you see breadth, you're going to put that measurement. And when you see height, you're going to put that measurement. Multiply them all together, and you will end up with your answer being in its cubed format. Like that, with the 3. Okay. Now, the second example would be the volume of a triangular prism. So again, I've drawn my triangular prism here. I have labeled my base, my height, which is my perpendicular height. Remember, it is a triangular prism. So the bases of my triangular prism are triangles. So I have to have perpendicular heights, and depth is the other dimension over here. Okay, so I can simply say this, that volume is a half of the base times my height times my depth. So I've got my base as, let's just put in a half. My base is 8 centimeters. And my height is 6 centimeters. And I'm now multiplying it by my depth, which is 4 centimeters. So my volume would be, I'm going to work it out first by BODMAS, so brackets. 8 times 6 is 48 centimeters squared. Multiply that by 4 centimeters. So I'm left with the volume is half of 192 centimeters cubed. And a half of 192 gives me 96 centimeters cubed. So I can now see that my volume of my triangular prism is 96 centimeters cubed. Right. There's no exercise in your Platinum Mathematics book, but there are some blue book pages that I'd like you to complete, please. That is pages 128 to 137. You'll see on my screen here. I have noted it here for you. It is due for Monday, the 11th of May. Please do it carefully. Please show all your calculations. If need be, you need to stick in an extra piece of paper to make sure that you've got the formula, you've got a diagram perhaps, and your full calculations. So don't forget to write all these notes in your workbook with today's dates. And have a lovely Thursday. Work hard, keep well, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.